Okay, you are all set live on YouTube.
Thank you, Keely. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Town of Kiowa Public Safety Committee meeting on February 10th, 2021. I call this meeting to order and ask that Petra do the roll call.
Ms. Conley,
Here.
Ms. Johnstone,
Present.
Mr. Tomei,
Here.
Ms. Byer,
Here.
Mr. Williams, Mr. Elder,
He will not be present today.
Ms. McDonald,
Here.
and Ms. Tillerson. All right, I'm done.
Thank you, Petra. I'll open this meeting with a move to approve the minutes from January 13th, 2021. Do I have a motion?
Motion to waive reading the meeting minutes.
Thank you. I noted on the, and is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. I noted that Mr. Abrams was missing from the list of attendees, so Petra will add him to that. Are there any other comments on the minutes? If not, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay. All right, next we have our agency updates, and we're going to start with Lieutenant Brokaw from the Charleston County Sheriff's Department.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. It's good to be here. I don't really have anything specific to say covering any of the calls or things on the island, other than I wanted to update us on where we are with the bike training.
Right.
Captain Avila is working with the Aviation Patrol to get that training set up, and it should be, hopefully will be done before the PGA starts. That's the goal. I also want to let everybody know that my second for working the off-duty things, my second in command will be Naomi Morris. I don't know if she's able to join us today on Zoom. I'll make sure she gets to the next meeting. But she'll be taking over the report, doing the reports and getting those sent out after I get her more comfortable with doing that. And also I have Sergeant Harold Phillips. He's on with us right now. And I'll let him, if we got a couple minutes, explain, his position and what he does. Harold, are you on?
Yes, sir, I am. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Thanks, Sergeant, and welcome.
Well, thank you. Hello, everybody. Again, my name is Sergeant Harold Phillips. I'm with the Bureau of Community Engagement. And so with the transition here to Sheriff's Office, things are being buttoned down and moving with the new administration. And so where I fit in is that I will be over the full-time deputies as their immediate supervisor for this component of the public safety part of the town of Kiowa. So what I'll do is I've talked to Stephanie real quick, but certainly I will make sure that y'all have my information in case you need me for anything. And I'd also like to mention that I know that Lieutenant Brokaw has kept you up to date with the ongoings on the island. But if you are not, we have a public bulletin that I send out most every day when I'm here. And it gives you a snapshot of the calls answered the previous day, and it's broken down into the sections of the county, so which includes Kiowa and Seabrook and Johns Island, and so I think that might be some helpful information, because one of the things that, of course, that we experience in law enforcement is when you have a hotbed of activity in one area, it tends to migrate to others. So it's always nice to know for your information about what's going on in the surrounding area. And of course, the deputies that are assigned to you, they are aware always, because we send out a public bulletin and we also send out an interagency bulletin with some more information. So again, I'll get you all my information, and then I can add you on a distribution list if you're not already on that. So it's, again, it's just a quick daily snapshot, Monday through Friday, course, on Monday, it will recapture what happened over the weekend. So I'm really looking forward to working with everybody. And myself and Lieutenant Brokaw have been working with each other for, well, many years. So I'm really happy that we'll be back together. It's been like 30. So very fortunate to work with Lieutenant Brokaw. So I won't be any longer, and I'm going to be on the meeting. And again, I'll look forward to working with you. And if you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
That sounds great, Lieutenant Phillips. We're looking forward to working with you also. And I look forward to getting that report. I've seen that report, but I do not receive it. And I think it's very helpful for us. And I'm sure Stephanie gets it, or will get it.
Did you have any questions for me, ma'am? Anything else I can?
The only thing I would ask is, do you have your people gotten the vaccine yet?
Most of the people in the sheriff's office who want to take it have either already had their first shots or have already taken their second. So like get my second shot Thursday, tomorrow.
Great. Okay. That's good to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Want to make sure everyone is safe. Okay, moving on to St. John's Fire.
Marianne, can I break in real quick? I just want to remind everyone to mute your phones and computers when you're not speaking. I'm getting a little bit of noise. Thank
Okay.
you.
And also, I have a phone showing up on my screen. I don't know what that is. Okay.
It might be Dwight. It might be Dwight. I just called in.
Oh, hi, Dwight.
Thank you. Yep. How you doing?
Good. Glad to have you with us. Okay, next I'll turn to Chief Walls for St. John's Fire District.
Morning. I don't have a whole lot to report. I'll let Bill fill you in on Station 4, other than I had two of my chiefs up there last week meeting with our IT and making sure that all the lines are pulled before the ceilings and the walls go up, but they are making great progress. We met last week with the PGA staff, and we'll meet with them again next week on a separate issue, moving forward with what the demands of the PGA will place on St. John's Fire District, as well as other fire assets in regard to that. I did want to say that we just finished up our probably 7th EMT class, and with 6 of our personnel attending this one. And with their successful passing, we'll be over 90% certified of our response personnel to EMT basic. So I am really happy about that.
It's great news.
Yes, it is. I think that Chief Gilcrease sent Petra the stats, and you should have them in front of you. If you don't have any questions for me, that's my report.
Well, I'd just like to say hello to Chief Stanley.
How you doing?
I see you there. I didn't miss you. You missed the candy, I bet. Chief Walls, how about the vaccination? Have your people been vaccinated?
That's a really good question. So far, we've had over 30 personnel get both of their vaccines, and some are still in process of scheduling first and second because they didn't want to be the first to get the vaccine. And that's understandable. You know, I will say this, with the successful commission with St. John's Fire Commission, in which Bill is on, they also provided a small incentive for our personnel to get the vaccine if they were on the edge or if they were concerned. And that really has helped boost our numbers a little bit in order for our personnel to get the vaccine. So after they get the second vaccination, they report that to our HR, and they're eligible for a little bit of boost. So economic boost. So it was really a tremendous incentive, and I did appreciate the commission voting to approve that measure.
Nice job, Commissioner. Very nice job. Okay, I do have one other question. It has to do with the emergency response vehicle. What is the status of that? I think you're supposed to get one, Chief, for the emergency.
Oh, the additional squad? Oh, yeah, we had one squad down because it was involved in an accident. We have since refurbished the older Tahoe. It has gotten labeled last week. It is sitting here to make sure we get the rest of the lights on it. and then fit it with the similar squad. So that should be back in service shortly, actually. Oh, I did want to add, and I know that I may have mentioned this before, we were able to obtain a high water vehicle for hurricanes, floodings, etc. And so we successfully painted that. We were able to get that from the Division of Forestry. So looking towards getting a backhoe that will also help us clear the roads quicker than what normally we can, because normally we're looking for heavier equipment for emergency removal of debris. So we're looking to able to also acquire that, and really for a nominal cost comparatively. So so those are two additional assets to the fleet that we didn't have prior.
Great, that's very good news. Now, the question I had to do with the vehicle that's like an ambulance, but it's not an ambulance.
The quick response vehicles, our squads.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had, like I said, that was what I was talking in reference to.
Okay.
Yeah, so that second squad should be back up shortly.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Chief in Chief. Next will be Chief Abrams from Charleston County Emergency Medical Services.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
Morning.
A couple of things for you. We had 17 responses last month in January to Kiowa. 8 of them were under 20 minutes, well, 5 were under 15, 3 were between 15 and 20 minutes, 4 were between 20 and 30 minutes, and 5 of them were between 30 and 36 minutes. To correlate that, the anchor truck has been a huge success. I'm in full support of having that staffed as much as possible, and we've even discussed having that as part of our normal rotation. And under 5 minutes, the 5 were the responses that were under 15. 4 of those 5 were responded with the anchor truck. 1 was just a normal unit that we have out there whenever the call volume permits. And the big difference with the anchor truck is when our crews used to do shift change at Medic 10 station, if we got busy, we would have to pull them from that geographic area. The anchor truck is only dedicated to that District 10 area. So if they get a call, they go back out there. I think it's been enormously successful. It's reduced our response times. It makes me sleep better at night knowing that we have that geography covered more often. So we are looking at ways to improve and enhance that system. One thing we've also recognized is that even though we have ambulances out there, there may not be the visibility when you're driving by the stations. So we are working to raise that garage whenever we have an ambulance actually in the bay, so people can ride by and actually see that the unit actually is there. Because the station, they're open, which is good. And 2 more things is that we are in discussion with MUSC for the PGA medical response, as well as St. John's Fire Department. EMS will have a presence there. I know that they are working with Lifeguard at Medju, who is, Lifeguard is basically their ambulance vendor who's going to be working out there as well. When EMS did this 10 years ago, we partnered with Roper as well. So Roper had their ambulances out there. We had our ambulances out there. So it'll be a coordinated community response. And we're looking forward to being out there and being present. And as far as just following the trend of the questioning, our COVID vaccinations are running about 80% right now. As far as at least somewhere in the process, a lot of our folks have gotten both vaccines. And we, even with the vaccines, you'll start seeing our crews have HAPR devices, which are the pressure thing. Really, for us, it was a cost factor of we can have disposable PPE and the mask and keep running through those, and or we could provide something that was sustainable or reusable. So each employee has their own hood, which was a very inexpensive device, and then they shared just the air purifying device. But I mean, it's a little bit better than the N95s, but for us, it was just a question of sustainability. We were going through about 10,000 masks a month. That's kind of what went into that as far as the decision.
And the Medic 10 staffing, are you having good results from people who are going to work there overtime?
Yeah, well, I think we're having a good response. Last month, we 56% of the shifts were covered. And just a key point is even when that unit is not staffed as an anchor truck, we still, our normal operation is if the call volume permits, we still have units out there at that station, even though they're not the anchor truck. It's just our normal operation still is to cover those areas if they're not covered by the anchor unit.
That's great. Well, it's really very positive to see some improvement in the response time. So we're going in the right direction.
I appreciate the partnership with members of on this call. So thank you for your communication.
All right. Beach Patrol. Rob?
Sorry, before Beach Patrol gets started, Chief Abrams, did you, I don't recall if you just did you address the concern that was brought up last month with regards to the delay in EMS response to the address that member John Stone asked about?
Sure. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Tillerson. So if you guys recall, there was a question that I wasn't aware of of a call that occurred. I believe Ms. Johnstone had said it was the day prior or a few days leading up to our last meeting. I wasn't aware of the response delay. I looked into it and provided a full report over to Ms. Tillerson and to Ms. Connolly. So looking at it, there were 2 calls that came in within 10 minutes. One was on Kiowa and one was not on Kiowa, but it was still in that District 10 area. We did not have an anchor unit that was staffed that day. And so the first unit was responding from West Ashley. 10 minutes after that unit was responding, another call came in. St. John's Fire Department was on scene on both the calls. St. John's Fire said one patient was stable, on Kiowa was stable, and the other patient was unstable. So we diverted the medic unit that was closest to the more unstable patient. And then we sent another unit, we just basically swapped units. And so that led to a delayed response. The second unit was also coming from the West Ashley. Then once our unit got past the first gate, for some reason, and you can track this on the GPS, I'll be happy to share it with you. You can see the medic unit actually, the computer took them to the neighborhood right before Sunset Road entrance because they're not connected. That delayed response by 7 minutes for our crew to get on scene. We have looked into the IT area there, the issue as far as why the computer took them to that neighborhood, and we're still waiting to find out what may have occurred there. But regardless, 7 minutes really, to me, wasn't big of a deal because we still had the 35-minute response, which is more than troubling and not the expectation any of us on this call, including myself, have for an EMS response. So please just continue letting me know if you have any concerns on any calls, because it's important that we do a root cause so we can figure out what happened so that we can make some improvements and corrections.
Can I add to that? This is Chief Walls.
Chief.
After the meeting we had last month, I also went to go take a look at that call, and in the notes of my personnel responding to those incidents. And the reference to the stability of that patient was changed within 5 minutes. And I recognize it doesn't matter because we couldn't have got an ambulance quicker there. But after patient assessment, St. John's firefighters had established that the patient needed an upgrade in call. And so the status of that patient was changed within 5 minutes, making it a higher priority, but it really wouldn't have mattered in position of where the ambulances were.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Also,
Go ahead. By making it a higher priority, because of the fact that the ambulance was in West Ashley, I guess it wouldn't have mattered. Or would it have mattered, I guess?
It really wouldn't have mattered, Stephanie, because I mean, they can only go as fast as they can go safely. So coming from the distance that they were coming from, so.
Well, it would have, I think it would have mattered on the first call though, because the closest unit was diverted to the higher priority call. So that meant the unit that was dispatched 10 minutes after that call was still away.
But Chief, that just would have resulted in 2 high priority calls.
We might have to talk offline. I'm not sure I understand. I mean, there was one call that came in, so we dispatched a medic unit. It was responding. It arrived on scene, I think 12 minutes after you guys said that it was an upgrade because we diverted the truck. So if one unit is 10 minutes closer to Kiowa than the other unit, and the units have to swap, that's why the second unit that was then behind took longer to get there, because they had to traverse the same 10 minutes that the prior unit had already traversed.
What I'm saying is regardless, I mean, we do know that patient status changes. And my point was that as the patient declined while the personnel were on scene, the status was upgraded. But once the ambulances were headed where they were headed, it wouldn't have made a difference.
We diverted the unit that was closest to both calls to the higher priority call.
Initially, correct. Yes, I agree.
Yes, so that meant that the other unit, in the second call, the higher priority came in 10 minutes after the Kiowa call came in.
Okay, well, we have researched the call itself. Yvonne, do you have any more questions you'd like to ask about that or comments?
No, ma'am, thank you.
Okay, Stephanie? You're satisfied with the answer?
Yes, I'll continue to work with everyone. But for this purposes, we can keep moving the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Beach Patrol with Rob.
Good morning.
Good morning, Rob.
A lot of bad cold beach weather out there. So as far as the statistics go, we don't have anything but a handful of the normal violations. So a couple of dogs in the critical habitat area and a couple of people in the dunes, but nothing significant or out of the ordinary there. I did want to say thank you to this committee for y'all's help in getting some new equipment for us, including the AEDs and the radios, and also council's involvement in that. So we very much appreciate it. The AEDs have been ordered and they arrived yesterday. So I'm bringing them out this afternoon to deploy to the beach, and the radios are in progress. So again, just thank you very much to the committee and to the council.
Okay, thank you, Rob. And next on the agenda, we have Kiowa Island Community Association. Is anyone there to provide a report? I only know of one thing they've been involved in. That was well, there's a lot they're involved in, but they did help respond to a resident's request for signing on, let's see, it was Stephanie, do you remember the two streets that were involved with the signage, do not enter?
No, I know it's off of Governor's Drive, but I don't remember the national streets.
But anyhow, they did respond to a property owner's request for more signage there to make it safer, and they did that, and they're probably very busy right now getting the new IDs out to everyone for their vehicles. And does anybody have any questions for any of the agencies? Okay. Rob, I do have another question for you. Did your people get vaccinated?
Yes, ma'am. Everybody has access to the vaccine through multiple avenues, but our medical control physician was able to work through DHEC, and we did classify in the phase 1A vaccine release. So we have had access to that, and everybody that wants it has gotten it.
Okay, thank you. Next, under old business, bike patrol training. I think Lieutenant Brokaw has said it or answered that question satisfactorily. We'll keep that in mind when that is available. Moving down to new business, we have the Air Med Care Network contract renewal. And Stephanie or Petra, could you just tell us what that's about?
Yes, I'll quickly do it because I have to drop off at noon for I'm sorry, this is bumping up with the county COVID call that I have to do every 2 weeks. For most of you, that's been on this committee. And with the exception maybe, well, Bonnie, you may have been involved last year. I don't remember. when. This is an annual contract that we've had now for maybe, Petra can remind me, maybe 4 years, going on 5 years. Because we started this when we were in the old town hall. This is and our service costs have, I don't believe it's increased. The annual amount is $8,163. This is a municipal coverage for residents and owners of Kiowa Island in case they need to be airlifted. It is not a decision made by the person that needs the service. It's a decision that's made by the emergency team that is there. Essentially what it does is if you have insurance, it covers the cost for that. A claim is filed, and for the most part, all of the costs picked up. Whatever costs not picked up, it is sent to the insurance company to cover. If you're uninsured, then you still would get the insured cost, but you would just pay for it yourself. As of the number of years that we've had this, as far as I know, I don't know any of from last year, but probably all in all, while there's been a number of course, accidents where people have been airlifted, what I have experienced and heard that it was more, it appears to me to be more contractors, and then they're not covered under this policy. But this policy that we have, the reason why we're another thing I want to say about this policy is that the municipal policy, they've actually discontinued that policy. But because we keep renewing every year, they have allowed us to renew under the municipal policy, even though it's really no longer in existence at the rate that we had. So this is a benefit that the town council had approved over the last 4 years or so for the community. We would hope and ask that the Public Safety Committee makes a recommendation again to Town Council to renew this policy. That's it. You're welcome.
And in order for people to be eligible, they have to sign up for it?
No. This is a municipal policy, so they just have to show that they're basically an owner, resident, property owner address. If they wanted enhanced service, then they go in and sign up for enhanced service that can include outside the Charleston area, as I recall. But
Right.
you don't have to go in and register, no.
So if they wanted to go from Kiowa Island to Texas, they'd have to have special arrangements for that.
I don't think it has to do with that. The location where they're traveling is determined by the EMS person. Normally, if you're picked up here in Charleston, they would decide where they would transport you, either to Atlanta or here. But I think what you're referring to is that, say your permanent residence is in Texas and you want to have this service, then you would sign up for like an extended service. Because then if your primary residence in Texas, but you have a secondary home here, if you're living in Texas and you want this service, then you're basically paying for the service, because our policy only covers if you're in the Charleston area, but then you can be transported to Richland County, Atlanta, or MUSC. It's wherever, once they get you, if they get you to MUSC and they determine that they have to transport you somewhere else, our coverage will also cover that.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Stephanie before she steps out?
And I believe that service is just for full-time residents, Stephanie. Is that still the case?
Yes, it is for full-time residents.
Right.
You don't have to be voter. It's not, full-time resident doesn't mean the voter. It's just that if you're picked up, you have a driver's license and your license has Kiowa address, then you're covered.
Right. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Next, I had discussion of the leash law. Now, this issue has come up because I've had some complaints from residents who claim that they've been knocked over by dogs that aren't on leashes, and also that dog owners are allowing their dogs to travel way out of voice range rather than staying under voice control near them. So I just thought, well, it's time to look at this and see what the problems really are, if there are any. Rob has done a tremendous job in helping me get information. And basically, if you want to talk about the number of complaints, I would say we haven't had that many. Is that right, Rob?
Yes, that's correct.
Most of the problems that we have with the dogs is off leash or in the wrong area.
That's correct. Most of the dog issues that we have this time of year are connected with the critical habitat area. As you know, during the winter, the dogs are allowed to be off leash as long as they're under voice command, and they're not in the critical habitat area. So that is the majority of the beach. But we get calls from time to time about people complaining that dogs are too far out of range of voice command. So I would say that maybe 1 to 3 complaints of that nature a month is probably about average. And most of those, the majority of those, when we respond, they're just unfounded. Either they've left the area, they're back within range of their owner, or it was never the case to begin with. So as far as leash law violations this time of year, there really aren't any because the restrictions are so relaxed. We don't have that many violations that we catch. And of course, people know that their dogs should be within voice command, even if they're off leash. And so when they see us coming, they usually draw their dogs closer. So it's really difficult for us to catch those in the act. So.
And are leash laws compared to other communities similar to us? Are they very strict or?
So in comparison to other beaches in the state, I feel like Kiowa laws are probably some of the most relaxed leash laws, and certainly in the county, but I think statewide. A lot of the other beaches do things with time of day rather than seasons. So they'll have a time of day where dogs are restricted or where dogs are allowed. Instead of areas of the beach that they're allowed to be off leash. And so there's different ways to restrict dogs on the beach and the leashes. But right now, from an enforcement perspective and on beach patrol, it seems like this iteration of the law is pretty effective.
Okay. Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask the members of our committee if anyone has had any problems with the leash laws as we have them. I don't know if you have your dogs yourself, or if you've been on the beach when their dogs have been off leash and you have any reason to be concerned.
This is Bill. I am on the beach quite a bit, and I have seen occasional violations of the leash law. It doesn't bother me personally because I happen to love dogs, and the dogs usually run up to me and I pet them and so forth. Although I can see how that might be a problem with some people who either don't like dogs or are afraid of dogs for some reason or other. I will say that none of the dogs that I've seen have been aggressive at all. They're all very friendly, which surprises me because I have seen some dogs elsewhere that aren't. So not really a problem, but you know, the regulation is a regulation, you know, so that's all.
Thank you, Bill. Anyone else?
Yeah, this is Dwight. I mean, I have a dog and I haven't noticed any problems. You know, you're just going to deal with people. Some people don't like dogs. I've had my dog on a leash, a 9-month-old puppy, and had people that didn't even want to walk past it. I mean, it's sitting there. So, yeah, I just think you have to look at the volume of complaints. I don't see it. Haven't noticed a problem myself.
Okay. Bonnie?
I agree with both Dwight and Bill. I mean, I have dogs, small dogs. I walk them on the beach. I think overall, everyone is just a very responsible pet owner. And I'm not seeing, dogs running wild. I haven't witnessed that.
Okay. Okay, well, what I'd like to ask you all is to be aware of this concern. When does the leash law end? March? In March?
March 15th, it goes back into effect. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we have a very short period of time, but I'm not going to just ignore the concerns that people have had. I'm going to ask for more input as we move forward, and then maybe evaluate some different options, like saying, okay, from this time frame to this, from 8 a.m. till noon, your dogs can be off leash. We'll just look at different options that may be available and then make a decision. Do we license our dogs? Are our dogs licensed?
No, they're not.
That surprises me, but.
That also, that also surprised me when I moved to the area, because everywhere I've lived and I've always owned dogs, they had to be licensed. And, the purpose of having a license is verification that the dog is, had all its proper shots in case it does, bite someone.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I was surprised too, but I guess it's not required. I don't know. I have to look into that. Okay, does anyone?
I would just say that I think licensing will get pretty cumbersome with the number of tourists that bring dogs. I mean, it could.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's a huge job.
Another full-time employee.
It would be a full-time job just doing that. Usually, what the way they do it is they say you'll have until February 28th. To, between January and February to get your dog licenses up to date. But that's not something we're planning on at this point. All right. If there's no other discussion on that, again, I'd like to thank Rob for all the research he did for me, because it was very informative. And I got a note from Stephanie. We have to vote on the Air Medcare Network contract renewal. And by voting, we will then recommend it go to council for the council to vote on and approve. So at this point, I will accept a motion to approve the Air Medcare Network contract renewal.
Also move.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I second approval.
Are there any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries, so we can now submit this to the council for their consideration. On the chairman's updates, I mentioned earlier that we had the opportunity, now that we have a new sheriff, we also have a new chief deputy for Charleston County, and we had the opportunity, the mayor and Stephanie and myself, to talk to her on the phone yesterday. And her name is Chief Deputy Smith. She comes from North Charleston. She's quite experienced in police work, and she has a main focus on community involvement. So I'm sure you'll be seeing her around here at some point. And I think she's going to be very good to work with based on what I have heard. So we welcome her and look forward to working with her. All right. Let's see. Bill, do you have any comments or questions? Did you want to talk about the firehouse?
Sure. It's moving along quite well. We're about 70% complete now. We've got, if any of you have been by it recently, there are windows in, and most of the siding is on. That's still in progress. And Inside, there's most of the piping and HVAC work that's hidden in the walls is done. We've got insulation in the walls inside and drywall on most of those walls. So it's moving right along, and it's on schedule for completion by PGA.
Great. A lot different than the other firehouse, huh?
Oh, yeah.
I just learned a lot of lessons from that one.
We all did.
Yeah, good. Okay, thank you. Dwight, do you have any comments or questions?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Bonnie?
I'm well, thank you. I'm all set.
Okay. Julie?
Nothing for me, thank you.
Okay, Yvonne?
All is well.
Yvonne, do they know about the attendees for the PGA yet?
We should be hearing back from the state this week.
Okay, because I had heard they were going to allow full attendance.
I have not been made aware of that.
Yeah. I in my own personal opinion, I don't think that's going to happen, but because for the Heritage at Hilton Head, they limited the attendance. So that's the most recent I've heard. All right.
Yeah, the
well,
last update I received is we put our proposal into the state last week and we were supposed to hear something this week.
okay, great. Okay, let's see, who else? Tony's not here. Did I miss anybody? No. All right, well, thank you very much for attending, and I hope everyone has a great day. Stay safe, get your vaccine.
Do not forget to call for a motion to adjourn.
I'll have a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, meeting is adjourned. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn is accepted. Have a great day.